your strength in time of the storm. We will see. We will see. I am your cover, I am your light. I'll turn your darkest days into light. We will see. We will see. I am black and I am free. I am beautiful, I am me. We will see. We will see. Headstrong, so great, figure like innate. And like the one true God, I am great. We will see. We will see. I am your strength when you are weak. I'll be your one for I am He. We will see. We will see. I am your cover, I am your light. I'll turn your darkest days into light. We will see. We will see. I am black and I am free. And like the one black girl, I am great. We will see. We will see. We will see. We will see.
I'm here with Brother I Am in Caldwell Playground. We're here to discuss a couple of issues that's occurring here in Morristown, New Jersey. First topic that I think is very important that we discuss is about housing here in Morristown, New Jersey. Just recently, brothers were getting together to try to protest the building of the park over there on Cole Avenue. Brother Breeze, what's the result of that conversation? What happened with the council meeting in regards to that? Any new information?
I didn't go to the meeting, but I just found out that they want to build a park back there instead of house. And affordable housing was supposed to go back there. They knocked down the other house back there because they said it was a flood problem. And then build more affordable house. But that never took place. They've been going on since '64. So that should tell black folks right now that the plan was to get us the hell out of here. You know what I mean? That ain't no secret. That ain't rocket science. It's just, I don't think enough black people take interest in that situation, but not realizing if we don't support and organize the grassroots community, that leaves a portion of our community that's basically just going to dissolve into an individual entity. I mean, an invisible entity. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you don't organize the masses of the people, then the few of us that's doing okay, you know, what's that gonna make that? You know what I mean? It's like you're not interested in what's best for you. You wanna wake up one day and be 10 black people in Morristown? You know what I mean? I know some black people plan on staying here. Some young people plan on staying here. They wanna raise their families here. Well, that's not gonna be a high option in terms of what alternatives we have staying here. You know what I mean? So when you fight for affordable housing, you basically fighting to keep young people from having to move out that no longer want to stay with their parents or grandparents, want to get out on their own, raise their own family. They got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? So when people don't have interest in that, it's like you just working against yourself, because what you gonna do? Blend in with everybody else's ethnic authority and become invisible? It don't make no sense.
All right, let's see if I understand you correctly. you were lobbying for affordable housing back there in the parking lot by Cole Avenue. And the town, the mayor, was lobbying for park. And really, in reality, what the mayor wanted was to create a park for new high-income housing. They're going to build on Spring Street.
That's another thing. They did make a decision to build high-end housing on Spring Street where the electrical building used to be for rich folks, of course, rich white folks. And eventually all they're going to do is move on down the block, take the Beverleys out, and anything else that's related to the larger black community. So everybody keep hollering the mayor cool, the mayor cool. He's showing his racism right there while he's smiling in your face and drink a beer with you and come to your cookouts. You know what I mean? I tell him this to his face. He know it. Ask him. You know what I mean?
What about those who's wearing white gloves and serving the mayor?
Yeah, I heard about that too. I think so. I mean, I'm going to put you like this. You know, a lot of times black elected officials are referred to as sellouts. And some of them are. But all of them don't fit that because some of them don't even know what they're doing. So I wouldn't even call some of them a sellout because they don't even realize what they're doing. They don't realize they're being used against their own community. You know what I mean? So, but that still doesn't mean we shouldn't address it. You know what I mean? But, I mean, I heard about that, the white gloves on, serving. You know, that ought to tell you right there what type of people represent the black community here to even do something like that. You know what I mean?
That's very great.
Come on, man. I don't know.
A few weeks ago, I heard there was an incident on Flagler Street. And a few brothers was hanging out, supposedly, and they were making, loud noises and congregating in some areas. And brothers elected, or a person elected to call the police, opposed to sitting down and having a conversation with the people who were being disrupted. So the question, I guess my question is, are we required, or is it necessary for us to call the police, or is our responsibility to police our own people?
The reason why some black people in the black community call the police to deal with petty issues like that is because we're just not organized. We haven't organized ourselves to the point where we can deal with those issues rather than having somebody incarcerated with something so simple. You know what I mean? And I mean, you hear people that talk this black power stuff or talk this black thing and black liberation theology, and they be the first one to call the police. So it's like, that tells you just how bad off we are. You know what I mean? But that's a matter of organizing, understanding what's really going on, understanding the condition and its relation to law enforcement in the black community. You know what I mean? It's like, you go raise hell about a Trayvon Martin situation or a Mark Bell situation, but then you'll call the police on some kids or some cats hanging out laughing over something they saw on YouTube or something they saw on Facebook. You'll call the police on. But now, if somebody end up dead, how would that make you feel? And that's happened before around the country. How do you see it now? You know what I mean? Do you not understand? You live here. You know these people here. Why wouldn't you just say, listen, man, y'all gotta keep the noise down, or y'all keep it moving or something like that? You gonna call the police, and if they don't, you gonna find me. You find some brother that's organizing on that level, that's organizing in that capacity to deal with it. Because it could be you walking by, stop and have a conversation. They call the police on them. You stand there with them, get locked up. Just like me when I was filming over there when they locked me up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, I've talked to cats. They said, listen, this resident here has really got a problem with y'all making all this noise. And if they be on that police shit, so y'all might want to just move somewhere else or keep it down or something. You know what I mean? Or apologize and let that resident know you ain't mean no harm. Because people call the police on you because they don't want to deal with their own situation. But that goes back to our community, how they're pushing us out of our community. And it's going on everywhere, not just Marshall. But you call law enforcement, who is the first arm of defense for the same ruling class that's pushing your ass out. They're there to defend the ruling class that's pushing you out. And you call them, you know what I'm saying? It's like you don't make no sense. I mean, God forbid, some man beating the hell out of a woman or vice versa, or somebody on the ground dying. You see, they don't come fast for that. You see what I'm saying? But they got to reach that quota to justify all that money they getting for these cars and new police cars and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Ain't no hardcore drug dealing going on around here like that. You got some users that have an addiction that's just doing their thing in order to maintain their addiction. There's no hardcore drug dealing around here. It's not drug infested like when we was growing up. You know what I mean? So all these police running around here like the goddamn army don't make no damn sense. You know what I mean? And until they run up on one of your kids with that nonsense.
About you take them, since we start talking about how they spend all this money on these tanks and these helicopters to only confiscate a nickel bag of weed and a few $1,000. They make it seem like it's a gangster paradise or mobsters. You know, what is your take on that? I mean, because that's definitely overreaction on behalf of Morristown Police Department and Morris County Prosecutor's Office.
I'm gonna go further than that. What up, Dre?
Please,
I'm gonna go further than that, Black. When they started their policy, if you catch a drug charge, your family has to leave public house. You know what I'm saying? Gotta leave public house. Now, grandma and auntie, what they got to do with you out there and what you did? They're gonna put the whole family out. That was a way to justify moving us the fuck out of here, because most families that live in public housing has a male or a relative. Everybody got a relative. If not them themselves, you have a relative or a loved one that was caught up in that lifestyle and has some type of legal issue. But by the time you deal with it, try to come back in here, they don't replace you with some people that look like you, almost look like you, but they call themselves Spanish or Latino. Now you ain't getting back in anyway. So all of them work together. This is a process of, 20 years? It's like, I was just reading a document called the Presbyterian Church here in Morristown. And so-called after slavery, during Reconstruction, the white clergy got together in town, was concerned about the numbers of Negroes here in Morristown, because we made up half of this. And they decided, look, we got to get the Negroes' number down to 2%, because they were so concerned with the numbers, they was afraid of who's going to control the politics and the economics. So black folks had enough numbers to control their own politics and economics. So we go back a few hundred years when they had this discussion, and it's a document. Go online, check it out, and they finally got us down to 2%. But that's how long they've been working to do it. But see, black folks are not encouraged to look into the situation in a practical manner, to deal with things in a practical manner. It's told to us, oh, you can't stop this, you can't change that, we being the true machine. Okay, be practical about it. Make some practical moves, make some practical changes that leads to ultimately turning a bad condition around. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they've been pinning it for years, so back. You know what I mean? So back to them blowing things out of proportion when they lock one of us up for drug charges. I mean, the last several raids they had was mostly users.
They come like
but they come down here with tanks. They come down here with assault rifles and all that. I mean, for what? It ain't going down like that. You know what I mean? It ain't going down like that. But they got to justify what they're doing with that money. So every time, they lock these cats up, let them back out. They get strung out again, and then they go get them again. That's all the game they playing, because they don't have no. No, they was not recently. They were actually laying off police officers around here, which proved what? The crime rate wasn't what it was assumed to be. They were laying people off.
The fact that the crime rate dropped, especially all over the United States.
Are you building more prisons, more law enforcement, and weaponry? This has get more exotic and extreme. It's like, if that's not telling black people what's going on, I don't know what else is going to wake us up. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, we don't have all the answers. You know what I'm saying? We don't have all the answers. I looked at cats like Kalanji Chenga for some clarity on some things, or cats like Chairman O'Malley Chatella to look for some clarity on some things, because some things that seem so simple right in front of you, it becomes a real frustrating struggle to deal with it in our community. You know what I mean? Because we've been forced into individualism. We're individualists. You know what I'm saying? In terms of anything happened to me, I ain't worried about it. The more of us that do that did that, it led to this. Now there's no institution in this community that speaks to our culture or reflects our culture or reflects in our one institution.
But up to the neighborhood house.
The neighborhood house, it was basically, I don't even want to use the word gentrified. The neighborhood house was a key target in terms of washing black folks out to the measure where we don't have a base to get together and organize to deal with the issues in our community.
You mean to say they did intentionally rid us of the neighborhood house?
Absolutely.
So we wouldn't have a gathering place.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. You know what I mean? That's part of it. I mean, every community, every ethnic group has an institution that speaks to their interests. The neighborhood house was out, but the whole new influx of the Hispanic/Latino community was used to push us out. Now, Latinos and Hispanics are not our enemies. You know what I mean? Just like you're not your brother's enemy, but if y'all got in trouble, they would force you to tell on him to make your situation better. That's what's going on. It's like, remember what Malcolm said. Malcolm said, you don't attack the puppet or address the puppet, you address the puppeteer that's pulling strings. So the Hispanic and Latino community on one puppet, and we another puppet. But the puppeteer controlling strings got us going at each other. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, you know, before you say we're gonna share what little resources you give us now, we never got our just due in terms of resources from the door anyway. So now we're forced in a way that makes us hostile towards another exploited community or exploited people, and the white ruling class that's in the background goes unchecked. You know what I'm saying? The ruling class continues to go unchecked because that's what poor people do. They blame each other. That's what puppets do. They blame each other instead of breaking their strings from the puppeteer and becoming their own person, their own figure. You know what I mean?
And I guess that goes the same thing with the Salvation Army. It's also
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's like this, man. We could build a cultural center. We could build a civic center or a rec center. But again, every nationality or ethnic group has an institution that speaks specifically and directly to their interests. That's what it's there for. Then they also participate in multicultural institutions. Black folks in this town don't have an institution that speaks specifically and directly to our interests so that we can deal with it. Then we can come out and be multicultural in terms of politics. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has their personal institution that they can go back to, discuss, organize, and things like that. Except us, you know? But they wanted it like that. Keep us disenfranchised. Keep us disorganized. You know what I mean? That's the whole
separated.
Yeah, you know.
That's very interesting discussion. Because even here today, this park that we're sitting in was used for the community purposes.
Yeah.
But God forbid, when the weather gets warm, you see this park filled. Everybody but us.
Yeah.
Everybody but us. But we can't come down and park our cars down here because of other places.
The idea is to get black folks in Atlanta here. And then, like I said, that's been the idea since Reconstruction. You know what I mean? So check out the document, the Presbyterian Church of Morristown, New Jersey, online. It's a long-ass document, but you'll get to it where they had a discussion.
What's it called now?
The Presbyterian Church in Morristown, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And
what site is it on?
Just Google it. It'll come up on different sites. And then it will tell you right there that their plan was to get us down to 2%. Black folks, and they finally did it. You know what I mean? And you can't tell me over the years, the white folks that's been in office over the years, the mayor or the council people, that they didn't know about this over the years. They had to be part of that.
And they continue to perpetuate that.
You see what I'm saying? That's what white folks do. They continue to plan. They started 30 years ago. You know what I mean? You can't tell me black elected officials from back then up to now didn't have no idea about that. You can't tell me they ain't know about building their high-end housing for rich folks right there at the on the corner of Spring Street and Center Street, but won't build affordable housing that they were supposed to put there since 1964. Because if we ain't got nowhere to go, hey look, this is an article, and from 1965 it says, why don't Negroes just leave? Where do they go? That was the whole plan since back then. You know what I mean? That's the whole plan. So black folks here that's from here, natives here like Marshtown. People been here most of their life. They like Marshtown. They want to raise their families here. But the plan is to get us the hell out of here. So what we gonna do? You know what I mean? What we gonna do?
So what do we turn to? People who are aware of this and have knowledge of the situation, what do we turn to for help? Do we turn to the church, or do we take matters into our own hands?
Well,
the church can help us in this
unfortunately, the church won't help, but the church can. The church can play a big role in all these conditions that keep us powerless and unorganized, disenfranchised. These churches can help the situation dramatically. Unfortunately, they haven't participated and don't seem interested. Now, I'm not going to say the whole church, every member, but the decision makers who can make a decision to get involved in this struggle won't do it.
So it's up to the people. The grassroots activists.
No doubt. Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? Pretty much.
So where do we begin? Where do we begin to organize?
Well,
we don't have a cultural center or no place, a meeting place. We just come together and have a meeting of the minds. So where do we turn to?
I think we should meet in each other's home. Meet in each other's home. You know what I mean? The people that's serious, the people that's interested. Like, a lot of people are afraid to, because of the stigma attached to it, the radical, the whole
Black power,
militant people, that type thing. And it's like, it's just, they play us so simply. It's like, you're afraid to engage or participate in your own liberation, in your own freedom to practice self-determination. They played you so thoroughly that you don't want no interest. Black folks actually mock the idea of organizing and struggling to obtain control of the politics and the economics in our community. They actually have been eluded away from any interest in it. And it's like, black folks will mock you about that. You look like, and when we sitting there like, the joke's on you. You know what I mean? The joke's on you. You're gonna wake up here one day, you're already invisible damn near. You know what I mean? Are you serious? You the joke?
Well, I guess the next question would be the tactics in this community. We have several members of the community who are part of the council, who are part of town politics. Are we able to reach out to them for assistance? Make sure we reach out to them.
I'll put you like this. American/European white male politics, because that's what run this country, that's what run the world, is not going to get the job done. However, we can use local politics as a tool to combat these conditions and turn conditions around locally. If we all do that in our local community across this country, and then we connect them and do it as a collective nationally. You know what I mean? But the proof is in the pudding. All the stuff we just talked about, we've had black elected officials on the council for years, decades. You know what I mean? There were some that did what they were supposed to do, and then there were those that's just not interested. Some of them don't know better. Some of them do know better. But they made a decision, a conscious decision, to undermine the efforts of the masses of black people to empower themselves. You know what I mean? And there's so many decisions made in local politics that the community is not aware of or even a part of. decisions made about their lives that affect their lives. So, like, voting ain't gonna free nobody, but you can use voting as a tool to educate. And you take the contradiction with oppression being the primary contradiction. You take that all those conditions that stem from that, you sharpen the contradiction. Like Fred Hampton said, you raise it so that people can see it crystal clear, then they make their own decision. But there are black enemies of black people. There are black enemies who are in decision-making positions that they're enemies of black people. Everybody black that's in office has no interest in empowering, organizing the masses of black people to empower themselves. You see what I'm saying? So it's not a matter of who's in the seat, but the person about that's in the seat. You can have the super black, militant, red, black, and green underwear wearing cat as a council person and have no interest in empowering the rest of the black community. You can have a straight up, ignorant, self-hating black person in office, and they as well have no interest in empowering the black community. So it's about the politics of the person that's in that seat. It's not about that person, not about who's in the seat. It's about the type of politics that person got. You know what I mean? And you know, right now, white male, European, white male chauvinistic politics continue to rule the masses of black people. It's just like what's going. Like we keep having stuff about the economy went down some years ago. The economic depression. America was just financially dwindling, and that's only because the other indigenous people in their native countries are taking their resources back. They begin to take their resources back, and that left the ruling class in America. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So they start taxing us more, or taking this and taking that. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like they don't teach our children this in school, or teach our community this, or help our community understand that the reason there's an economic crisis is because, again, indigenous people in their countries are saying, now, these are our resources, no more benefit you. So America doesn't have the numbers that the numbers of people that they used to exploit and gain capital and economic power. Decreasing. You know what I mean? So it's like it's gonna implode. You can't save this economy. It's not possible. You can't save it. You know what I mean? So they just start being domestic, more directly domestic, and who they exploit economically, as if they weren't doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. So now they take this from us and raise taxes on this and take that from us, and you know, back and forth, because they're scrambling to keep their economic, their monetary comfortability. You see what I'm saying? So the more of those third world countries that take their resources back, the more they come down on us, as if we had it any goddamn way. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you number it down. It's about 13 families. It's about 85 people that control everything on this planet. The mode of production of everything, from your clothes, your food, your car, your furniture, the steel that built us inside these buildings, you name it, paint, you name it. But 85 people that own all of this stuff. These rich, super rich, white men. You know what I mean? You go to these indigenous countries. You even go to Africa right now, and you got, especially in South Africa, still you got 20% a minority of white folks that utilizes 80% of the land, and 80% of the Africans in, you know, the indigenous natives there is fighting just as live on 20 to 30% of the land. Their land now. You know what I mean? I heard Whoopi Goldberg say one day, yeah, the white Africans and the black Africans. I said, white Africans? And that's not, what do you mean white Africans? And see, that's the type of game they use our celebrities, the people that we look up to miseducate, to mislead us. Because when she starts talking about white Africans, that's going to make black folks think, okay, well, that's their country too. No, it's not. Those are European invaders that won't leave. That's all that is. You know what I mean? Those are European invaders that won't leave. That's all that is. And that's not native to them. And if that's the case, you can't go back to your native country. And if you don't want to go back, you don't have the humanity or decency in you to release the resources, you know, that's rightly belongs to the Africans there. So it's always a fight or some type of war. Unknown, you know, they name them rebels and terrorists. You know what I'm saying? If I came in your house right now, jumped on you and attacked your family, you're going to do everything you can to kill me. But since I have power of the media and the newspapers, I'm going to write you up as a terrorist. So the people reading, looking at you as the bad guy. Not me that came in your house and attacked your family and took everything in there. I took 80% of your house and made you and your family live in the kitchen and the bathroom. I got the rest of the house because I have a bigger gun. See what I'm saying?
Media machine.
Yeah, but you will be written off as the terrorist for fighting back. You know what I mean?
A rebel.
Yeah.
So, I guess the question would be, for us here in the Global Scope of America, would be, is there a solution or is revolution the solution?
Well,
because you know that the word revolution has a negative stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
This country was built on revolution.
Yeah.
Because Washington was a criminal who was part of the army of the revolution.
Mm.
But the minute that you connect the word revolution with African people, you become Black Panther, a terrorist, you know, all the above. So what's the fix for this? We know it's not a quick fix, but what is the fix for this problem?
We need to join on the campaign of the others that's organizing this country and our interests in terms of political education. Real political education that will help us understand and teach us to empower ourselves and take control of our lives so we can practice self-determination. And anybody looking for a direct way to find people, I would suggest, like I said before, Kalonji Jamachenga, Chairman of Elias Chatella. I'm talking about the FTP movement out there in Atlanta, and feed the people out there in Atlanta. The brothers are doing good work. They're national, but I understand now. But they're doing great work, man. They got a strong political education campaign out there, and the brothers, they do great work. You know what I mean? Just like Chairman O'Malley Satella and the African Socialist International, the ASI. You know what I mean? Practical means of dealing with our conditions. That's what's going to get us there. Nothing happens overnight. We're not going to bust a nut. It's not some event. It's a process. And practical means of organizing on universal principles. Some people say revolutionary politics. Those means practically, but in a practical way, is what's going to eventually lead us to total liberation. You know what I mean? But that's not some nut that somebody should be trying to bust, because it's a process. You know what I mean? And I also understand this: the leadership that's needed, that's always been needed, the leadership that is going to have the biggest effect, positive effect on our community, the leadership that we need that's going to change us around is going to come out in prisons and these streets. Academia ain't going to do it. Academia can't do it. Academia is not equipped to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be the same category of people who the average black community says, well, they're the problem. The young people on the corner, or those niggas doing this, those niggas doing that, not realizing those are the only people that have the spirit, the courage, and the understanding to challenge this situation of continuing exploitation of black people in this country and keeping us powerless. You know what I mean? And who was going to do it? Because corporate America ain't going to do it. Academia ain't going to do it, because they to the point where they feel like they got too much to lose.
Yep.
You You see what I'm saying? They're not realizing, you know, you are being an ally to your own oppression with that, thinking like that. You know what I'm saying? Doing things like that. You hear it all the time, man. You know, pull your pants up. Watch your language. So you sure kids walk on their pants down. That's the problem that's keeping us powerless. Okay, so before we walked around like that, we was powerless. What kept us powerless then? Cause we wouldn't wear our pants down like that back then. So why now when kids wear their pants down like that, that makes us that's the problem. That's the problem. That's all you worried about. Like, again, you raise hell about Trayvon Martin, Sean Bell, and everybody else that this happened to. But all you can say to young people is, pull your pants up. That's why we can have this and have that. Are you serious? That's why? Because they paying their pants down? You know what I mean?
That's the biggest issue that we have.
Yeah, man, be serious, man. That's just justifying their choice to not participate in what it's going to take to empower ourselves. Young people with their pants falling off their ass is not the reason why we ain't in power. It's not the reason why we don't have power over the economics and politics in our community. Knock it off of that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just easy to point the finger at somebody rather than take responsibility and account for the role you're supposed to play in this. You just point the finger at the young people. You know what I'm saying? It was crime before it was Bloods and Crips. It was all kinds of crime. You name the crime, it was there before Bloods and Crips. So how Bloods and Crips is the problem? You know what I mean, come on.
That's what they want you to focus on.
Yeah, of course. And our people do, because it's easier to do that. You know what I mean? And not to come down on us, but come on, man, let's be realistic, man. Come on, man. Let's be for real. Them building prisons, them deciding to build a prison as a result of studying the conduct of black males in preschool is not a problem. They build a prison with the idea that they are sure, absolutely sure, that young people now, still in elementary school, are going to fill that prison. That's not a problem. You ain't got a problem with that? You ain't got a problem with the whole community being sold out, you know, stripped of its chances to empower itself. You had no problem with that. You ain't got no problem with the fact that see for those of you that say all that stuff is over and we're free, I'm gonna say this. Dr. Claude Anderson said that, and he worked for the educational department of the I think it was when Carter was in office. He was the authority on that, and he says that prior to the Civil War, right before the Civil War, there were about 4 million slaves, about 280,000 free blacks. This is prior to the Civil War. And those free blacks collectively own 1/2 of 1% of the wealth in this country. Fast forward up to now. All these free blacks, all these black millionaires, some billionaires, black elected officials, black president, and all these free blacks together only own still 1/2 of 1% of the wealth in this country. But we free. You're gonna tell me no games being played to keep us powerless? See, these are realities that seem to be a bit much for black people in our community, and that's understandable. It's scary. You know what I mean? I understand that, but nobody's gonna get us out of this condition but us. You know what I mean? There's nobody but us. You know what I mean?
So, what do you think about? Oh, now you think this African Socialist Party is going in the right direction?
Absolutely.
To help us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. those black folks there are organizing on a level that more black people need to know about.
And white folks.
And white folks too. You got the African
Solidarity Movement.
African Solidarity Committee chairwoman Penny Hess, who's a white woman, who's been working in the interest of people who are African that say empowering themselves for like 30, 40 years. White woman. Yeah, and white folks are going with it. So you gotta understand the race card. We do have a race problem, but the real problem is class warfare. You know what I mean? It's like Sean O'Malley always says, like, we're not doing all of this because we want you to like us. When you call us nigga or say we black, you think we're doing like this so we trying to force you to like us? Nah. We're trying to do this to put ourselves in a position of self-empowerment to where whether you like us or not, can you do anything to harm us? And we are still in a situation where white folks that don't like black people, but they're in power, can still harm us economically and politically, education, whatever. Because they can still control the damn thing. You see what I'm saying? So we could care less if you like us or not. You can call me nigga all your life. But I intend our community needs to understand why we got to put ourselves in a position of power to where regardless who don't like us or call us nigga or whatever, but can you harm us because you don't like us? We want it to where like, fine, you ain't gotta like me, but you can't do shit to me. I control the economics and the politics of my community along with my people. That's what this is about. So racism is misdefined to black people in terms of, oh, we just want you to like us, don't call us nigga no more. Well, we could care less. Because if you put a gun to a racist cop or a racist Klansman in the head right now, and they have no way to defend themselves, you'll see how fast they'll turn friendly. That don't mean they're your friend. You know what I mean? When it's even Steven, it don't matter if we friends or not. You're going to respect my existence on this planet. You see what I'm saying?
Even Steven?
Yeah, that's the difference. You know what I mean? People, again, our people are miseducated about the real meaning of racism. The term race wasn't even a term until Europe imposed itself on Africa. We ain't no race anyway, we're a nation. I use the term race for lack of a better term so people understand what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But that term is not indigenous to us, and it wasn't a reality until Europeans imposed themselves on indigenous people came with the term race. They're the only ones running the race. You just saw two programs, the Clinic of America and the Running of America, because they're not producing us as much as everybody else. So they're in a race to exist, to survive. That's why they keep getting more and more extreme with stuff. You know what I mean? But that doesn't take away our responsibility to organize ourselves and keep struggling to obtain power through the practice of self-determination. You know what I mean?
I guess my last question would be, what do you think needs to happen in regards to this political topic we have here in Orange County? So we're not faced with the problem of having to go up and vote and, trying to gather a million people to go up into the town council meeting to fight for affordable housing. What do we do before it happens? How do we attack the planning committee?
That's a good question, because it leads us to be reactionary when we're not involved. From the door, it makes us reactionary because at the last minute, then we're trying to organize and make something happen after they made their decision to do something. So I think we need to, again, get on board and organize with those that's sincere about affordable housing, among other things. But since we're talking about affordable housing, get on board with people that's sincere about it, organize and challenge any elected official, any developer that intends to build anything that won't benefit us and our community. That's what we can do, is organize. You know what I mean? We get together and organize. And we plan to do it, but we know black folks, again, in Marshtown, again, Frank Osborne told me this months before he passed. I was interviewing him. He told me there's some things you're gonna have to do, some things you're gonna have to say, but it's gonna have to be done. Everybody ain't gonna like it. You know what I mean? Everybody ain't gonna like it. But, you know, we gonna fight, bang it till the wheels fall off. You know what I mean? Till the wheels fall off, yo. Hold his bones. Again, we have been tricked into becoming individualists. Individual thinking, individual concern, individual interest, where I'm only concerned with me and mine. Well, you and yours are on a fast pace to becoming literally invisible at Mars time. Because there's no institution or not enough people organizing to empower us, you know what I mean, or doing anything that reflects our interests. So this whole thing that we was tricked into with this economic crisis, oh my God, it's an economy problem. They going broke, so we going broke. We was always broke. You know what I'm saying? We was broke anyway, even before that. So that's something they're experiencing. It's been that way for us from the door. We know how to survive off of that. It ain't nothing. It's not changed for us in terms of that. You know what I'm saying? So this individual thinking, this individualist thing is like, you know, it's like, it's just a trick to kind of help you feel easy about, and more stuff being taken away from you. The economically weaker that the ruling class gets, the more they take stuff from you. You know what I mean? But just understand that's because, again, other indigenous countries are taking back their resources. You know what I'm saying? They're taking them back.
I think that should be the next topic. Light people and that's what we're talking about, that happened.
Right.
Right here and now.
Right.
That basically concludes our interview. Thank you, brother, for the very valuable information that you provide for us.
Right.
I hope the people here will enjoy it and use it and figure out how it can benefit the rest of the community.
Contrasting ideas pass through our ears. The older we grow, the more knowledge we know. Time marches on, waiting for no one in a world